Let's get this thing unwrapped. Now the first thing I'm going to do is put the block plugs and all the Welsh plugs in. So we've got a brand new set here. Use a little bit of thread sealant on the actual threaded plugs and a little bit of retaining compound on the small Welsh plugs for the oil galleries. They have a habit on the Fords of popping out on the front, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want to lose oil pressure, so a little bit of insurance. This is some pretty good gear. It sets like concrete. All the plugs are in the block now. So all our Welsh plugs, all our gallery plugs as well. I've also gone over every single machine surface and cleaned it off. And I've cleaned the block once again with brake and parts cleaner and given it a good old douse in the old WD. Make sure you've got plenty of WD and brake and parts cleaner handy when you're assembling an engine. So we can now move on to doing some pre-assembly work. All our block preparation is now done. So we're going to get our main and rod bearings out, and we're going to start measuring bearing clearances. This stuff here, guys, is pretty old school. It's called plastic gauge. I'm sure you've all heard of it. Chuck it in the bin. It's crap. It's alright to get you roughly in the ballpark, but I don't like to use it. It's not accurate. It's just crap. If you don't have micrometers and, dial bore gauges, things like that, pay someone to do it. You've got to be accurate with this sort of stuff if you want things to last. For a backyard slapper engine, no worries. Plastic gauge, a lot of people won't even use it. They'll just bolt the crank in, hope for the best. 500 k's later, they're back doing this all over again. So we've got a dial bore gauge to measure our bores and inside diameters for our crank journals. We've also got an outside micrometer, a good quality dial indicator, and a cheap-ass stand off of Fleabay, and some feeler gauges as well. Another tool you will need is a tension wrench. Now, it doesn't have to be a fancy snap-on digital gizmo like I've got here. It can be the old manual clicky click style. They work absolutely fine, but you will need something. Don't just ugga-dugga bolts down with a rattler. Alright guys, that's asking for trouble. You're also going to need a torque setting spec sheet. So one of these repair manuals is pretty good value. You pick them up pretty cheap. You can look this stuff up on the old Googles, but just be careful. There's a lot of misinformation around. First things first, we're going to get all the bearings out and we're going to clean them off with brake and parts cleaner, blow them off dry, and then we can get them installed into the block. So you'll notice when you take your bearings out of the packets, there's two different types. These ones and these ones with holes. They are your upper bearings. They sit in the block and go with the oil gallery holes, so your crank can get oil pressure. These ones go in your actual main caps. Pretty straightforward. Let's give them a clean off. Plenty of brake and parts cleaner, same as the block. We'll hit this, we'll wipe this down and blow everything off. So we'll start off with number 3. Number 3 is our thrust bearing. So we have these side bits here for the crank to push on laterally. Now remember, you've got your little tabs in your block and on your bearing. They will only go in one way, like so. And again, cleanliness is the key here, guys. Make sure your block is clean and these bearings are spotlessly clean. Now I'll fit the lower shells to the caps and we'll bolt our caps down. Main caps will only go one way. They are not designed to go both. Ford took the liberty of labelling and putting an arrow on each cap, so we cannot mess it up. I'll just place your cap roughly where it needs to be for now, and we'll come back in a sec and give them a tap with a dead blow hammer. dead blow hammer. Main bolts, always put a bit of engine oil on your threads. Doesn't have to be much, just a light film. You can run these down with a rattle gun or a ratchet just to make things a bit quicker and easier. But do not start ugga-dugging. For these main bolts, we're going to 70 foot-pound. We're going to start off with 35, then we're going to nip them up to 70, and then we can start measuring our clearance. Now to measure our bearing clearances, I've gone and put our outside micrometer on one of the main journals. If it hasn't been machined, you need to do this one by one, but I know that these are absolutely within 1/10 of a thou of each other, so we can just measure off of one. So we'll get that to where we're happy with, we'll lock that in, and what I'm going to do is set up the dial bore gauge to 0 on this measurement here. Now I've got the dial bore gauge in a vise. We can get our micrometer now and put it on here. And you'll see the needle is moving. As I move this, the needle will move. So once we get it to our lowest point, we can 0 out the gauge, which I've already done, as you can see. And now we can measure our bearings. Rightio, so now we've got our dial bore gauge set, we can go and stick it in the hole and measure our clearances. So we always want to measure up and down, not sideways. Now spec on one of these things is between 1.5 thou and 3 thou. 3 thou's very much on the looser side. But I think if we're aiming for around 2 to 2.5, I'll be pretty happy with that. So right there on number 1, we're sitting at 2, which is really good. Number 2, we're sitting at around 2.4. Actually about 2.3, so that's still well within specs. I'm pretty happy with that. Our middle bearing or thrust is going to be around 2.2, which again, really good. Number 4 is around 2. Again, not too shabby. And number 5 is around 2.5. Well within specs, on the loosest side of the specs, but that's fine. We're going to be running a relatively thick oil in this anyway. We can now move on and measure our cam bearing clearance. Exactly the same process as what we've just done. We'll measure a journal on the cam, we'll 0 out our bore gauge, and then we can do the exact same thing again with our rods. So again, I've 0'd out our dial bore gauge. I've put our rod bearings in. Now, the rod bearings on the Windsor are exactly the same, upper and lower. There is no difference like the main bearings. I've put this in a clamp and torqued down our cap. Now make sure the cap goes on the right way. We'll only go one way. Now you'll notice on one side here, we have a pretty big chamfer all the way around. if the camera does its thing, as you can see. Whereas on the other side, it is relatively flat. So you have to obviously make sure the cap lines up with the rod. Now we can go ahead and measure this. Up and down again, guys, always up and down. And right there we have 2.2, a little bit over 2, which is absolutely ideal. Let's say 2.2, which is perfect. I'm happy with that, and we can now move forward to our cam bearing clearance. Brand new Crow Cam lump stick here. I am a Crow Cams man. I have never once had an issue with a Crow Cam when I've gone to dial it in. It is exactly in specs to what the card says. Now, if you don't understand by what I mean by dialing in a cam, we'll get to that a little bit later. I dial in all my aftermarket cams just to be safe and sure, make sure we've got the timing absolutely bang on, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now I'm going to unwrap this, clean it off in brake and parts cleaner, blow it off with air, get it nice and dry and clean, and then we can measure a journal. Just finishing up with the cam bearing clearances. Now, unlike the rods and the mains, you need to do every single one separately because our cam journals are all different sizes. The bearings are different sizes. So to do this properly, you need to get the block off of the stand, get it on a bench or something solid, just so you can access the rear of the block. So this is number 5, and we are at a little bit over 3. In fact, you could call that 3 thou, which is absolutely perfect. Specs on these things are between 2 and 4 thou, with a limit of 6 thou, which is pretty loose, but 3 is smack bang in the middle, so that's perfectly fine. We can carry on. All our clearances are now done, so we can move on from here. While this is off the stand, I'm going to chuck in the 3 rear oil gallery plugs, and the rear freeze plug for the cam as well. And then we can chuck this back on the stand. We'll give this one last going over with parts and brake cleaner, start lubing it up, and then we can move on to our ring gap filing, which is a tedious, pain in the ass job, but it's got to be done, guys. Now, again, I'm going to use a bit of the sleeve bearing retaining compound stuff. This is major overkill for the cam plug. This is not under oil pressure by any means. You can probably get away with just a little bit of RTV, a bit of sealant, whatever. But I've got this stuff out. I'm going to use it. So this is pretty straightforward. Sits in there. We're going to use a seal driver to knock it in. And happy days. Let's get that done. Our final job in the pre-assembly process is gapping our piston rings. This takes time. You've got to be very patient and you've got to be very careful. We're using a piston ring filer. This is just a cheap, basic, it's Aeroflow. You've got to be careful. The stone is very abrasive and you can grind off way too much and you'll be left with a huge gap and you're going to be losing compression. We don't want to do that, so just creep up on them very slowly. You're also going to need a set of fine nail files or something similar. So once we have filed the ring gaps, we can then go through and just deburr the corners and edges. You'll need some feeler gauges to actually measure the gap, and you'll need a set of piston rings. We're going to start with the top ring and work our way down, so that way it's laid out in order of installation when it comes to putting them on the actual piston. So we'll start off, we'll go this one here, number 5. Now what we want to do is just stick our ring down. I'm doing this with one hand, it's not ideal. I want to stick our ring in, get one of the pistons, push it down about 1 inch into the block, then we'll get our feeler gauge and measure the gap. and we can work out how much we need to take off, or if it's already too big, yada yada yada. Now, for this engine being just a basic street combo, naturally aspirated, I'm going to aim for about 18 thou on the top rings and 22 on the second. Now, if you were adding boost to this, you'd want them a lot looser, sort of, 26, 28. And again, if you were going nitrous or something like that, looser once again. So we want to keep it on the tighter side. The rule is 4 thou of gap for every inch of bore size. The bore size in this is 4 inch, plus we're 30 thou over. So if you work off of 4 inches times 4 thou, it's about 16 thou. So that's our ballpark, plus, the 30 thou. You want to be around 16 to 20 for our top ring. So I'm going to nail it in the middle and say 18, and then we'll add another couple of thou for our second, which will be 22. So let's get started. This will take at least, a couple of hours to do this right. Quick tip, one thing to look out for when you're doing this sort of stuff with piston rings. Most rings have a little mark located on one side indicating which way faces up. It'll be either a little dot or something that says top. If it says nothing at all on either side, the ring can go in either way. Up, down, no problem at all. This is a classic example. These ones have no marking, so the top ring can go either way. The second ring, however, if you look very closely, that's what I'm talking about. So I'll just give you a quick demonstration of how we do this. So the ring has to lay down perfectly flat on the tool. We've got these two wheels here, they're a guide. So we want to locate into them nicely. So I like to use 2 fingers, push down at the front, hold the back of the ring with your palm, and then with your thumb and other finger here, we're going to squeeze together whilst pushing down at the same time and pushing it into the guide. So we want to make sure both sides of the ring are level with each other. We don't want it cocked like this. We want a nice straight edge to file on. It's not the easiest thing. So there we go. And as we're turning this, we're pushing in. Just little bits at a time. Now we'll put that in the bore, we'll measure that. You can get fancy ones of these with a dial indicator, and it will tell you exactly how much you're taking off. It makes life a lot easier and quicker, but it's a lot of money. If you're not doing this sort of stuff every day, you don't need it, guys. So we'll put this ring back in here. This isn't ideal doing it with one hand. There we go. Now, using one of our pistons, we will push it down about 1 inch, nice and level, like so. Now with our feeler gauge, I've got a 22 thou feeler here. We can just sit it in there, and as you can sort of see, it goes in a little bit, but not all the way, so it's still a bit tight. We're almost there though, so we just need to creep up on it a little bit more. You can see the difference in the gap. That's the standard gap out of the packet. That's our new gap, a little bit bigger. So we just need to go a little bit more. Once we're happy with that, then we'll pull that out, file down all the burrs off the ring, and happy days. We can clean them with parts cleaner and send it.